Ahoy! Today, New World has been stoking the flames for a speculation about another beta phase. And it sounds like at least something is coming. We're gonna look into that and talk about what I think is most likely in this scenario. The first part of this was discovered earlier today by Damon Kim, another New World YouTuber. Great channel, by the way. But since then, there have been additional posts that I think are even more promising. Before we jump into it, hi, I'm SLOTH, and if you're new to my channel, feel free to consider subscribing if you want to stay updated for other New World news and content in general. That would greatly help my channel and hopefully you as well. Now, into the posts. So, New World is getting a ton of requests on Twitter for another beta phase because people don't want to wait 2 months without having any New World in their lives. That is understandable and happens with every delay, but what's a little bit unusual is that New World responds to these comments. So for example, yesterday, Horda asked if there would be another beta and New World still responded, there are currently no plans in action to have another beta before release. That was the message that we had generally received in the past, but then today the tone suddenly changed. So Shock AZ wrote, open beta until big release, you'll get tons of new players that are bored in summer, just business for you for free. New World responded, we'll be sure to post more information on our social media channels as soon as we are able. Keep an eye out for more new information. This sounds much more promising. This is definitely not the same tone as in the last one where they're saying, okay, there won't be any beta anymore, but rather, keep an eye out what's happening, there will be new information. So that was the post that Damon Kim talked about, and then afterwards, there were actually additional replies. WHO suggested there shouldn't be another beta, but there should be a soft launch at the end of August with no wipe. Don't think that's the way they're going to go, but the response again was more in the direction of, who knows what happens. If this does become a possibility in the near future, the community will be updated. And then London HD said, what are the chances of the beta build reopening a little bit before launch? And again, they said, keep your eyes peeled on the news. No longer the tone of, there won't be any beta. They said something similar to Dakota Woods, who was asking for 2 weeks of beta before the game drops. But the most important reply was the one to Sir Drodansky, who asked if the beta will be back open. And New World responded here with, currently, we do not have a specific date for the next phase of testing. However, with this being said, further updates will be on the website again. But that is a completely different tone from there won't be any more beta, but rather it sounds like there will be a next phase of testing, they just don't have a date yet. It wouldn't really make sense for New World to respond like this if they don't have any plans to do any more testing, because they know exactly how people are going to speculate about statements like this, how they're going to be excited that there is potential for another beta phase. And they also know that people are hungering for games during summer. There's usually a bit of a dry spell going on in that regard. So here's what I think in general. I consider it relatively unlikely that New World will do another full-blown beta phase. That would imply that many people would be repeating this content for the 3rd, maybe 4th time by the time release comes around, and always having their progress wiped in between, which can create a certain level of fatigue, I think. Additionally, I don't necessarily see how they would benefit from that. For example, I don't think they need to test much again about the first 10 levels. Likewise, I don't expect that they'll move the release date again, because they're speaking of a next phase of testing here, not something changed about the release date, and they know that a lot of people are taking time off for the release date, and they've already had to shift that once now, or multiple times if you've been following the game for a long time. So I don't think they would push it closer again, because then people who took time off would be really frustrated and it would just lead to confusion at some point when the game actually comes out. So I don't think that's completely impossible, but also in my opinion very, very unlikely. But one of, if not the biggest issue that the game had was stability in large-scale fights, especially in wars where people would just freeze up in place. And this is something that, as far as I'm aware, they cannot fully test internally, because there are different factors of servers, netcode, connections, and everything coming together for issues like this. You can obviously run some virtual stress tests, but the real thing might always look a little bit different. So my prediction for what's likelier to happen, especially since they specifically call it a phase of testing and not a beta phase, is that they'll have a short stress test, maybe for a weekend or so. that focuses primarily on large-scale fights. So maybe something where everyone is automatically at level 40 or level 60, locked on that level, certain content will also be locked, and people can sign up for wars basically immediately, and wars happen very frequently without the normal regulations around them, so that they can see if there is a large amount of lag in the war still, or if that problem is solved. That would help them in other ways as well. They can figure out some balanced things around that, see if other changes that they applied would work better, and they would get one of the biggest issues tackled that they definitely want to get rid of before launch, because I think that might really put some people off. That is my prediction right now. We'll find out if it's true in the future, and if anything changes or we get any news about this, I will of course post about it here. So again, if you're new to the channel, feel free to sub button and maybe the bell so you get notified of that. Also, quick other tidbit of information. The server list that they've previously posted is the one they now refer to as their current server list. So it's likely that these server names will at least exist in the live client, along with some others very likely. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you for the next one soon. SLOTH, out.